Today we're going to be talking about evaluating with integers, and so what you'll notice is that we've got our evaluating notes, and at the top they give us the definition of evaluate. To evaluate is to replace variables with the given numbers and solve. Notice that evaluate and solve are two different things, because when we talk about evaluating, we're talking about expressions, not equations. We solve equations, we evaluate expressions. So just keep that in mind as we go through today. As we get towards the bottom, we're going to have to remember our order of operations as well. So this very first one, a plus b equals blank, where a is 2 and b is 8, we're going to plug in 2 and 8. And 2 plus 8 is 10, so 10 is my answer. For number 2, we read this as not negative a, but the opposite of a. When we have a variable, we don't read it as a negative, we read it as the opposite of. So we've got the opposite of a plus b, and the opposite of the opposite of 2 is negative 2. So negative 2 plus 8. And at this point, we're thinking about our addition rules. So signs are different. So I'm going to subtract, and I'm going to keep the sign of the number with the greater absolute value. So 8 minus 2 is 6, and the number with the greater absolute value here is 8, so my answer is positive. On number 3, we've got the opposite of a plus the opposite of b equals blank. So the opposite of 2 is negative 2. Plus the opposite of 8 is negative 8. Now I'm looking at same signs. Signs are the same. So when signs are the same, we add them and keep the sign. So 2 plus 8 is 10. And because they're both negative, we keep our negative. Let's do one more before we break for a second. We've got a minus b equals blank. So a is 2, minus b is 8. And our subtraction rules we talked about are the 3 C's. So we copy the 2, change subtraction to addition, and change positive 8 to negative 8. Now we've got signs that are different, and I've got to think about my adding rules. And my adding rules tell me when signs are different, I subtract. 8 minus 2 is 6. And I keep the sign of the number with the greater absolute value. In this case, that's negative 8, so my answer has to be negative 6. So when we evaluate, we're simply plugging these numbers in for the variables that they go with. So 2 in for A and 8 in for B. And then from there we're just evaluating the expression given the numbers that we have by using our adding rules. And our adding rules say same signs, add and keep, different signs, subtract, and keep the sign with more. Or keep the sign of the number with a greater absolute value. So we used our adding rules here, and then we had to use our subtracting rules down here. Our subtracting rules say to copy, change, change, or keep, add the opposite, or keep, change, change. However you want to remember it, but we keep, add the opposite, and when we do that, then we can use our adding rules that we just talked about again. And if you're forgetting your adding rules, you can go back in your notebook to your integer rules here. If signs are the same, you add the two numbers and keep the sign. If signs are different, subtract the two numbers and take the sign of the larger number. So that's what you can look back at. At this point, I would challenge you to try a couple on your own. Maybe just try and finish out this column and then watch the next video to see if you got them right. For just the A and B column, then we'll do part of C and D together as well.